Hey everyone, Ian King here, Senior Research Analyst at Banyan Hill. In today's webinar, I want to talk to you about the most disruptive force in our economy and what is that going to mean for the workforce in the next 10 years. But before I do that, if you like these videos and you want to hear everything that I've got and all my market updates, please hit the subscribe button here at the bottom of your screen. And if you like the video, you can also hit the thumbs up. But now I want to address something that I mentioned yesterday. And yesterday we talked about the 1920s and basically how there was a convergence of technology where all these innovations that happened during the Industrial Revolution came to a point or a tipping point where they created new technology, and this created a huge increase in productivity. And what I'm referring to is the internal combustion engine, the idea that you can use energy or you can use oil as energy, and the assembly line all converged, and you saw the development of farming machinery. And this really happened at 1920. Before 1920, people and farmers used horses and mules. Then finally after 1920, in 1922 there were 200,000 farming machines on US farms. And what that did to the farming workforce, well, if you look at this chart, farming workers really plateaued in the 1920s, and then in the developed world, they started a really steady decline lower. And in 1920, farmers were 25% of the US workforce. Today, it's about 1%. So you can see how and what automation did to the labor force on farms. And that's because we automated everything. And it allowed our economy to become more dynamic because labor that you would have had to reserve for working on a farm could be freed up to be put to use elsewhere. And I see a similar situation happening now with automation and self-driving cars and artificial intelligence, where you're going to lose jobs that automation will replace. For instance, in the US, there are 3.5 million trucking jobs. And with self-driving trucks coming on the roads in the next decade, these jobs are going to need to be moved elsewhere. But what's really important is that the economy can be dynamic. We need to make sure that we have government policy in place where you can give capital to entrepreneurs and you can retrain workers so that if they're not driving a truck anymore, they can go get a job elsewhere in the economy. So that's what's known as a structural unemployment problem. And I see us facing the same dilemma in the next 10 years, but as we saw in the 1920s, the economy became much more productive because you weren't putting people in jobs and people weren't working jobs that could have been replaced by machines. And once you automated these processes on farms, you freed up that worker to go work elsewhere. So that's why I'm really optimistic about the next decade, because I think we faced these challenges before as a country, and it just means that we need to retrain our workers and put them to work somewhere else. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, automaticfortunes@banyanhill.com. Thanks again, everyone, and I'll speak to you soon.